Regent Delgado.
Here.
Regent Erickson. Here. Regent Evers.
Here.
Regent Farrow.
Here.
Regent Grebe.
Here.
Regent Hall. Regent Higgins.
Here.
Regent Jones.
Here.
Regent Klein.
Here.
Regent Milner.
Here.
Regent Mueller. Regent Peterson. Regent Ring.
Here.
Regent Stile.
Here.
Regent Tyler.
Here.
Regent Whitburn. Regent Whitburn.
Here.
Thank you.
The minutes of the April 2017 Board of Regents meeting have been provided. May I have a motion to approve these minutes? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The report of the Wisconsin Technical College System Board was not provided this month, but it'll be available next month. Good morning. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our hosts, Chancellor Money and all of his team, for their terrific hospitality and absolutely glorious weather. It's too bad we haven't been outside most of these 2 days to enjoy it, but we certainly were outside the Wednesday evening and yesterday evening and today. So thank you for the weather. As UWM celebrates the 1-year anniversary of its status as a Research One university, we are all confident in saying that we expect great things ahead. Congratulations on this first anniversary. Later this morning, we'll be presenting our annual Regents Academic Staff Awards for Excellence, the UW system's highest recognition for members of the academic staff. We are expecting to honor the families, friends, and colleagues of our honorees, so if you see some movement in the visitors gallery, that's the explanation. Well, on to my President's report. First, a quick update on our task force on campus climate, which is chaired by Regent Eve Hall and now Regent Emeritus Ed Menedides. The task force is currently finalizing its report and recommendations, which will be presented to the board at our July meeting. The work they are doing is of vital importance to every UW system institution. We live in an increasingly global economy and multicultural society, and providing a healthy and inviting campus is essential to ensuring that all of our students are well equipped to thrive both professionally, socially, and personally. I'm grateful to the task force for their work so far, as well as to Eve and Ed for their leadership. Now, yesterday, we welcomed 3 new colleagues to the Board of Regents. That means also a time of farewell for 3 departing colleagues whose terms of service have concluded. Later today, we'll recognize the service of Student Regent James Langness. Then at our July meeting, we will formally recognize the service of Regent Mark Bradley and Regent Ed Menedides. All 3 have served the state and this great university system well, and we're very proud to call them friends and colleagues, and they will be missed. The close of the school year is a beginning of other big challenges, as well as our commencements. So that's many happy, and that marks the beginning of many great new adventures. President Cross and several of my Regent colleagues and I had the privilege of taking part in commencement ceremonies around the state. Each ceremony is unique and different, and yet all have something in common. They share a sense of pride, of accomplishment, and of joy. Over the years, I've attended quite a few of these events, and it is a celebration that absolutely never gets old. It's always so inspiring to see the excitement and pride on the faces of the new graduates, and that is so often reflected on the faces of their parents, grandparents, family, friends as well. And that is so important. But it's also worth remembering and valuing that many others played a part, both big and small, in making that big moment happen. We don't have the final numbers yet, but we're expecting that around 21,000 students earned the UW-Wisconsin degrees this spring, and around 36,500 overall in the past academic year. That's really something to celebrate. On behalf of this board, congratulations to all new degree holders and to those who made it possible. And as a break from the script, I will say that as a Regent, I can say personally, and I think I can say on behalf of my colleagues, of all the services that we provide, of all the work that we do, that is probably the most joyful. To be there and see the families, first-generation families who are celebrating a first-time graduate, families for whom graduation is a long-term family tradition, all of them. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and I really encourage our new Regents to take advantage of it whenever you can, because it is very special. There's one other thing about those ceremonies, so filled with pomp and poignant memories, it should also remind us of something else, and that's the importance of a quality institution, where dedicated and creative faculty inspire students to want more, where innovative research expands possibilities, and where fellow students challenge and encourage their peers. That is what this great UW system is all about. And that concludes my report for today, and I will turn things over to President Cross. President Cross?
Thank you, Regent President Milner. We're pleased to announce today the inaugural members of the new UW System Diversity Council, which is designed to help foster increased diversity and inclusion in Wisconsin. The council is made up of a group of leaders in business, the community, and other key organizations from around the state. I believe the council's connections to our communities will be a key in helping our state prepare for increasingly global issues around the world, where diversity and inclusion are both expected and valued in the workplace and in our communities. The Diversity Council held its first meeting last month, and three important themes emerged: education, employment, and health. We look forward to building on this strong start to help address key issues like educational achievement, workforce development, and the future of Wisconsin's economy. You'll be receiving a copy of the news release shortly. I'm very excited to announce our first Wisconsin Idea Summit, a key initiative in our 2020 Forward framework. On June 19th, the UW system will host a dairy summit at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison. The event will begin by bringing together industry leaders as well as our world-renowned UW researchers to help identify key priorities for Wisconsin's dairy industry moving forward. Invited guests include federal and state legislators, Department of Agricultural, Trade, and Consumer Protection Secretary Ben Bransel, researchers from UW Extension, UW-Madison, UW-Platteville, UW-River Falls, leaders from the Center for Dairy Research, and representatives from the dairy and agricultural industries. Last week in Oshkosh, we announced our new 1+3 program, which is designed to help meet the demands of the state's growing IT industry. Through this program, students can compete and complete their first year of college while in high school, allowing them to potentially earn a bachelor's degree in 3 years. This will get them into the workforce more quickly and help keep college more affordable for students and families, since the first year of college is completed while they're in high school. What sets this program apart is that it not only targets the state's business needs, but it partners with those businesses who need them badly. Governor Walker, who joined us along with our Fox Valley business partners to make this announcement, is very enthusiastic about this program and its great potential to help the state's workforce development. The 1+3 program builds upon the state's largest longtime concurrent enrollment program, the Cooperative Academic Partnership Program, or CAP, at UW-Oshkosh. Collaborators in the initiative include UW System, UW-Oshkosh, UW Green Bay, the regional UW colleges, and local technical colleges. I'm very pleased to report that since the announcement, UW-Oshkosh has been receiving calls from high schools and businesses from around the state. Things are off to a terrific start, and we look forward to growing this program in the coming months. At this time, I'd like to share news from around the system, so if we could cue the video, please.
A fire in UW-Milwaukee's theater building in April could have been devastating, but the community rallied around the students and faculty. Shorewood High School offered space to rebuild the set, and the Milwaukee Repertory Theater offered its stage, and the show went on. Members of the UW Superior community took part in an important conversation to help prevent sexual assault at the Speak Out Superior event. This program engages new voices in the fight against sexual assault. Research by a UW Stout student was in the spotlight at the U.S. Capitol. Alexa Sikani's research on the Red Cedar River watershed was highlighted at Posters on the Hill. This event gives students the opportunity to showcase their research to members of Congress. UW-Stevens Point is among the 2017 U.S. Department of Education. This award acknowledges the university's comprehensive approach to sustainability. UW-Stevens Point is one of only 9 post-secondary awardees in the nation. UW River Falls received a prestigious grant from the National Science Foundation worth nearly $1.5 million to support the STEM Teach graduate program. STEM Teach produces highly qualified teachers in STEM fields to help meet state and regional needs. UW-Platteville chemistry professor James Hamilton has received a grant from NASA to develop his telescope cleaning polymer. With the help of students, Dr. Hamilton will develop a polymer system specifically for the special needs of NASA's Starshade Telescope project, which will be launched in the next decade. UW Parkside students Philip Labar and Ashley Marchetti took home the championship title at the National Collegiate Sales Competition. Parkside's business department now holds more than 36 National Sales and Marketing Awards. UW-Oshkosh's Engage magazine marked its 10th anniversary with their spring 2017 issue. Engage serves as the cornerstone communications vehicle to share the university's success stories with alumni, faculty, staff, and students. A local car dealership celebrated Earth Day by donating an electric vehicle to UW-La Crosse. The car carries food waste to a community vermicomposting project that originated at UWL. This partnership helped the new student union earn Gold LEED Building certification for excellence in green building. UW-Madison's Dairyland initiative helps dairy producers build barns that keep their cows happy and productive. Based on scientific principles developed by the School of Veterinary Medicine, these barns are designed to maximize cow comfort. An updated strategic plan for the Green Bay Area Chamber of Commerce highlighted the necessity to expand UW Green Bay. The plan noted that student talent drives economic development. Chancellor Miller spoke at the event, sharing the university's support for the plan and his optimism about the future. UW Help, a part of UW Extension, developed an exciting new app that gives students a starting point to find the UW System campus that fits them best. UW Journey will be available in the App Store and Google Play this month. Student and faculty researchers from UW-Eau Claire are studying the quality of surface water and groundwater in western Wisconsin. This research will help the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources establish reasonable and responsible regulations for the silica sand mining industry. UW colleges recently held undergraduate research and performance symposiums. 8 campuses highlighted student research in various fields. The event at UW-Marinette reached a significant milestone in celebrating its 20th year. UW-Whitewater students participated in the popular Hired Before Graduation campaign. Graduating seniors who have landed jobs before commencement are invited to have their photos taken and posted to social media. This year, UW-Whitewater set a new record with over 200 participants. That's news from around the system. And now I'd like to offer a brief update on the biennial budget. We put forth a reasonable budget request that strategically aligns our resources with the state's greatest needs. And we're happy to see the Joint Finance Committee support a funding increase for the UW system.
I would like to reiterate my sincere thanks to Speaker Voss, to Majority Leader Fitzgerald, to Finance Co-Chairs Darling and Nygren, as well as Senator Harsdorf and Representative Bourne for their commitment to the UW system and for their close work with us throughout the budget process. There are still a couple of issues that remain unfinished. Key among those issues to us are compensation and the capital budget. Compensation is our top priority. Every legislator we have talked to is committed to providing an increase for our employees in this budget. This is a strong sign and a signal of support from the legislature, and we are most appreciative. However, we don't yet know how much that increase might be or whether it will be fully funded. At this point, I want to remind you of the key difference between the UW system and other state agencies. Historically, the UW system pays 30% of any state pay plan. But our tuition has been frozen for 4 years, and this budget proposes to continue that for an additional 2 years. Thus, this board has asked the state, when we made our request last year, fully fund a pay plan for a 2% increase in each of the biennial years, just as it would for every other state agency. If the UW system has to pick up 30% of the pay plan beginning in July of each year, the pay plan will cost us $23 million over the biennium. Other variations of the pay plan are also being considered. Let me reiterate, while we will not know the size and scope of any pay plan increase until later in the budget process, it's generally last, we do greatly appreciate the support for our employees shown by the committee so far. Regarding the capital budget, we continue to advocate for an increased investment in our campus infrastructure to renovate, remodel, and maintain our existing buildings. To remain competitive and to prepare our students to meet workforce demands, we need appropriate and up-to-date teaching and living spaces for our faculty and students. Actually, the maintenance plan we submitted only impacts about 3% of our existing inventory. We thank the governor for his support and what he has proposed, including $100 million in all agency maintenance money for the university, as well as several important projects. We know costs go up when projects are delayed, and if we can make the necessary repairs sooner rather than later, it will save taxpayers and students millions of dollars in the future. Projects at UW-Milwaukee, UW-Whitewater, and UW Extension have already received formal support, and we are working aggressively, along with the chancellors, in hopes that other institutional projects will be added to the list in the future. Now, let us take a closer look at the major items in the omnibus motion passed by the Joint Finance Committee related to our operational budget. First, the UW portion of the budget passed by the Joint Finance Committee includes the restoration of the $50 million lapsed during the last budget, as well as $36.2 million in new funding for the UW system. Of that new funding, $28.8 million, I hope you're keeping track of those numbers, $28.8 million is an ongoing base increase, with most of it, 26.3, tied to an outcomes-based funding model. There is also set aside in the first year $5 million for an innovation fund to support capacity building in high-demand programs. I've asked Vice President Henderson to convene a working group to begin developing an outcomes-based or performance-based funding plan. Once this working group has completed its proposed model, it will be presented to the Board of Regents for review and approval and subsequently forwarded to the Joint Finance Committee for their review. Second, turning to tuition. The Joint Finance Committee did not approve the tuition cut proposed in the executive budget and instead froze tuition both years in the biennium. Additionally, the Joint Finance Committee adopted the governor's proposal to increase funding for financial aid for students by $6 million. That money goes to HEAB, as most of us know, not to the university. Echoing the board's request, this represents the largest increase in state financial aid in a decade. Third, several small initiatives were also funded, and I should point out, smaller in funding does not mean smaller in importance. The Joint Finance Committee increased financial support for the Flexible Option Program, the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at UW-Madison, the UW-Carbone Cancer Center, and it also proposed creating the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership. Finally, the Omnibus Budget approved by the Joint Finance Committee includes items we are being asked to perform that are not funded. That includes expanding free tuition for veterans and family members who move to Wisconsin from out of state, and requiring the UW system to contract for an annual audit by an external firm. In both cases, we are concerned that these are not funded, and responsibility for such decisions will be taken from the Board of Regents. We could have a new budget by July 1. I said could have, unlikely at this point, but given the current challenges at the Capitol, that may not be realistic. The next 4 weeks are crucial, and we will continue to work with our partners to advocate for our institutions and for the UW system. I've asked a few of our chancellors to share their thoughts on the importance of, in particular, of compensation and the capital budget.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit about the overall budget and specifically the importance of the compensation portion. I want to start by thanking Governor Walker for proposing the best budget we've had proposed in more than a decade. I think he's recognized that the UW system is truly the economic driver for the state of Wisconsin. But institutions are really about their people. It is important that we have good facilities, but it's also important that we have great faculty and staff. I know that I feel blessed to be at UW-Eau Claire. We have a strong culture of service. All of our employees are really focused on the best outcomes for the students, and I'd be pleased to share with you some of the data. I left you a little sheet yesterday afternoon talking about how our graduates are doing. We've just recently completed a Coupa analysis of our faculty and staff salaries. 74% of all of our employees are behind the average Coupa rate for our peers in the upper Midwest. We did not use national data, we used peers in the Midwest. Of our full professors, on average, they are 21.5% behind their peers. The full professors tend to have the biggest hit because they've not had a pay increase other than a 1% here or there for a number of years. In addition, as we know, they've had to pick up a greater share of their fringe benefit costs. This institution, in addition to the faculty, have really doubled their efforts to make up for the cuts that occurred the last session. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the past, but as a reminder, UW-Eau Claire cut 179 full-time positions, 15% of the workforce, included 25% cuts in facilities, 20% cuts in most non-instructional areas. We have asked all of our employees to think differently, to reorganize, to try to make sure that we could continue to get great outcomes for our students. All of the faculty and staff, not only at UW-Eau Claire, but across the system, have had great outcomes and have served the state really well. The governor's proposed 2% and 2% pay plan will send a strong signal to the hardworking faculty and staff of our system that they are valued by our citizens, they are valued by this board, and most importantly, by the policymakers that make those important decisions. This is an essential part of the governor's proposed budget, and I'm hoping the Joint Finance Committee will see their way fit to not only support it, but also to help fund that remaining 30% that we aren't able to make up through tuition. Appreciate your time.
Just a moment, Chancellor Schmidt. What I'm going to do is a little bit different than, I'm not going to hold questions. You can ask questions to Chancellor Schmidt later, but if there are any particular questions for Chancellor Schmidt right now, we can take them. Any immediate questions? Now, if you think of any as we're moving on, then he's available and we'll answer them then too. Thank you very much.
Oh, good morning, everyone. First thing I'd like to do is thank you as Regents for recognizing the importance of this 2+2 salary increase because you voted to approve it. And it went forward to the governor and we got some recognition of that. I want to echo a lot of what my colleague has said here because in the UW colleges and UW Extension, our faculty and staff on average, their compensation is 20 to 25% below their peers as well. And we do see this as an issue in terms of recruitment and retention. The other thing is I'd like to point out, oftentimes when we recruit people, we point out, well, we have lower salaries here in Wisconsin, but we make it up with great benefits and a low cost of living. Well, I think we need to be realistic about those two items as well, because our employees are paying more for their health care benefits now, and I can attest to that because I pay much more here in Wisconsin than I did in California or I did in the District of Columbia. So the idea that our benefits are so fantastic that it makes up for our low salaries, we need to examine that assumption. As well, the cost of living, my colleague at UW-Stout recently put out a document that shows central Wisconsin cost of living is quite high. We might not assume that it is, and obviously in the urban areas, it's even higher. So I want to express my appreciation to you for recognizing the issue with the salaries, but I want to give you a little bit broader context because this also affects our employees as well. I too am grateful that the governor heard you and that he put in this salary increase into his proposal. And we're just waiting to see what happens with that because it wasn't included in the bill that the Joint Finance Committee passed. There are a couple of concerns that we have, so I'll echo President Cross. We want to remain in the comp reserve like every other state employee. We want our salary increases to begin on July 1st of this year like they would normally when a salary increase is enacted. And we too are concerned that this is fully funded, that we want to pay and reward our faculty and staff. On the other hand, we worry about a structural deficit that might be created if this isn't done appropriately. So anything you can do to advocate for us on this issue with the legislature would be greatly, greatly appreciated by all of us. Thank you.
Now, are there any questions, direct questions right now before we hear from our other chancellors? All right, we're going to then, in that case, let's hold and take the questions in total when they're all finished. Thank you. Chancellor Van Galen?
Thank you. I'll begin with the obvious point that the quality of what we offer in terms of education depends so much on our ability to recruit, retain, and support our faculty and staff. This evening we have an alumni event in Milwaukee, and those alumni will not talk about our buildings, our chancellors, anything like that. They're going to talk about the faculty and staff that impacted their lives when they're at the university. The data is there. I'm going to share with you one story that I think illustrates the challenges that we have. Last month at UW River Falls, we lost one of our chemistry faculty members to another institution. And let me tell you a little bit about this faculty member. She was hired in 2008 after obtaining a PhD in organic chemistry. We did a national search. She rose to the top. We hired her. By all accounts, she's been an outstanding faculty member, an excellent teacher, a productive scholar, a co-PI on a $300,000 NSF grant, and a good colleague. So she had been at UW River Falls for 8 years. During that time, she earned tenure. She was promoted from assistant to associate professor. Her salary increased as follows. She had a $3,000 increase for her promotion. She had a $2,500 campus-based increase. We have a modest compensation plan for faculty based on Coupa data at the campus, which is very, very difficult to fund in this environment. And then also, over that 8-year period, she received 2 1% pay plans, a $1,015 increase. So 8 years later, she had received $6,515 in increases. What do you think her salary was at that point? Just think of a number in your head. Her salary was $54,515. That number would shock many members of the public, I think. Last month, she accepted an offer, about an $8,000 increase from another institution. We did provide a counteroffer that, if she had accepted, would actually create some serious salary inversion issues within the department. But she left. Where did she go? Across the river to Minnesota. In the last year, we have lost at UW-River Falls to Minnesota a provost, a chief information officer, a chief human resources officer, executive director of facilities. He actually stayed in River Falls, works for the city, director of student life, typically with $15,000 to $20,000 pay increases. It's a serious issue. I appreciate the governor's proposed increase. I appreciate the understanding of many legislators, including Senator Harsdorf and Representative Zimmerman from our region. It's important, but I thought it would be beneficial for you to hear a kind of a real-life example of some of the challenges that we face. Thank you.
Chancellor Shields.
Good morning. No applause for Mike. No. That's the heckling. So I have the good fortune to serve on the board of the American Association of State Colleges and Universities. And each spring, they host the current chair hosts their meeting on their campus. So over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to visit peer institution campuses, and almost every one of them has a new science building. SUNY Oswego in April, the first building they showed me was a $135 million new science building with remarkable energy efficiency. It's a 200,000 square foot building, geothermal, heating and cooling. The air turns over every 10 minutes. I come back mad. So I'm extraordinarily pleased at the great reception that we've gotten from the governor and from the legislature, at least entertaining our capital requests. I'm especially grateful to Senator Markline, who I think helped the Joint Finance Committee agree to hold their first traveling roadshow meeting on my campus. And I'm grateful to that Joint Finance Committee for, once their committee hearing was over, taking a tour of our facilities. One that we'd like to finish remodel in Babel Hall, which is a science building, and our 60-some-year-old building, engineering building. In Babel Hall, they were able to walk through biology classrooms. They're very similar to the biology classrooms that I took biology in when I was in 8th grade in 1968. I think seeing the inside of that building had a tremendous impact. They also toured Ottensman Hall, and they got to see firsthand engineering faculty that were 2 at a time stuffed in what used to be a closet, which is the only space that they had there. They looked at a wind tunnel machine that was original equipment for the building, and I didn't know this. The faculty member who was explaining it to him said, you know, when something breaks on this machine, they don't make them anymore. We have to go on eBay to find the parts. It's original equipment for our building. So I think for system-wide, it was a great impact for the Joint Finance Committee to actually be in these buildings, see what it's like, understand what the needs are. It made it very real to them. So we're grateful that as the discussions go on in the legislature, under the leadership of Representative Nygren and Senator Harsdorf and others, Bourne and Darling, that we are getting a favorable reception to many of these projects. And I hope as the sausage gets made that it comes through. I'm especially excited about an engineering building, and the remodel of Babel on our campus. But there are, of course, other very worthy projects across the system, and I'm certain that my colleagues, if they'd been out, had the opportunity to give similar tours of their facilities, could find equally needy projects. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis. So at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside, we are advocating for one of our projects, but I also want to express my appreciation for the governor's budget in funding all agency for UW system, because that will help us to hopefully mitigate future deferred maintenance issues. At our campus, we are advocating, much like Chancellor Shields and many of my colleagues, for an infrastructure project, Wiley Hall. As Regents, you approved that project in the last biennial budget, and unfortunately, it was not funded. At that time, it was a $30 million. The current estimated cost for that project has escalated to about $35 million in this biennium. And so we are very hopeful through the advocacy work and the support of the groups in our region that have taken a positive position, and that includes the Racine Common Council, the Kenosha Common Council, make sure I get all these right, the Kenosha County Board, the Village of Summers Board, and I'm sorry, the Racine County Board have all supported a resolution backing the overall UW Board of Regents budget and certainly the capital request for Wiley Hall. Wiley Hall, the infrastructure involved is HVAC, plumbing, and electrical that needs to be completed and is over 45 years old. We did not have a chance to bring members of the Joint Finance on a tour, but we did create a video, and all of the members of our local delegation actually can see the infrastructure issues that we are most concerned about and are very concerned about a potential failure and how that might impact the learning environment at UW-Parkside. I, too, want to express great appreciation. Senator Wangard in Racine County and Speaker Voss have been big proponents for this project and have spoken publicly on our behalf. And we also had an opportunity to meet with Representative Bourne, Senator Harsdorf, Senator Darling about this particular project. And certainly our delegation in southeastern Wisconsin is very supportive. And so we are very hopeful that this project will be included as the Joint Finance Committee considers adding capital projects for funding in this biennium.
Well, I have a question for many of you, for anyone or several of you. There has been excellent support for system and for the campuses from local business communities. I would ask one or two of you to share with us the support you've had from the local businesses as we're moving forward for this budget and for this position, and also the reason for that support. And this has come from local businesses. I know we have, of course, within Milwaukee and Madison, we have major support from corporations, but from some of the smaller communities, why don't one of you share it? Chancellor Ford, you also touched on it, but Chancellor Shields, why don't you share that with us?
Well, we've been touring. I've been spending 1 or 2 days every other month visiting communities across southwest Wisconsin, and when we do that, we visit local manufacturers, usually a large employer. We visit with small employers. We visit with elected officials, with the Chamber of Commerce, and it's kind of the Wisconsin idea. We're going to talk to them, listen to them, hear ways that we can be helpful and supportive of them, and making the case to them. So ultimately, almost all of those businesses have spoken up. They've attended listening sessions. When Joint Finance came to town, I think all of those towns, Fenimore, Prairie du Chien, Cuba City, and the businesses from surrounding areas came and made presentations. In addition, many of those folks serve on our advisory boards of the various disciplines, and so they're very much in tune with what's happening on campus and in the various disciplines, and they have spoken up. They've written letters. The Chamber of Commerce of all of those cities wrote in support of us to the governor and to the Joint Finance Committee. We had people represented at each one of the meetings across the state that Joint Finance held. So, for example, representatives from Waupaca, from Kohler, all of which have substantial number of employees with us. We called on them and they came and represented us at those hearings that were outside of Platteville.
In other words, the requests that all of you are making for us have a lot to do not only for the students and for your campuses, but also for the importance of economic development within the state.
And workforce development.
And workforce development. Thank you, Chancellor Ford.
I wanted to touch on that. I think one of the things that we're seeing in southeastern Wisconsin with the growth of businesses and new businesses coming into our area and expansion of current businesses is they are seeking the partnership with not only UW-Parkside, but Gateway Technical College and our private college partner, Carthage College. And the employers are creating more and more internships. They are coming and serving on our advisory boards. They are helping us to ensure that our curriculum remains very relevant in meeting their needs. And we just graduated our largest graduating class in our history at UW-Parkside, and so we're preparing that ready talent for southeastern Wisconsin. And I hear almost every day how important higher education is to economic development and vitality in our region in southeastern Wisconsin.
Thank you. Chancellor Patterson.
Yes, we have a similar story in central Wisconsin. The businesses there and the business leaders have really stepped up. Cliff King and Skyward has organized a consortium of area businesses, particularly those interested in IT, to help fund a position in our computer science department. Century Insurance gave us the largest gift they'd ever given anybody, to endow 2 faculty chairs. But the thing we have to keep in mind when we think about businesses opening their checkbook is that people don't, well, the way we say it in development, they don't buy Buicks because General Motors needs the money. They don't give contributions, and they don't endow chairs to help us turn on the lights. So there's a basic piece of this that we have to do ourselves. The chancellors before me talked about the salary situation. 94% of the faculty on my campus are paid below the national average. While the businesses have really stepped up to support workforce development and in this current budget in a big, big way, that won't solve the compensation problem. That's something the state has to do. And I'll end with just this one short story. 4 years ago, I was sitting next to a junior faculty member in a meeting, and we were talking about compensation. He had 4 children and a wife, and the wife didn't work, and he told me he was eligible for food stamps. That's heartbreaking, and something that this state really needs to pay attention to.
2 quick points I wanted to make. The Eau Claire Chamber of Commerce, the Menominee Chamber of Commerce, and Chippewa Falls Chamber of Commerce comes together for the Chippewa Valley Rally. The #1 goal that they had was full funding of the UW request and technical college request. That is a marked difference from where that body was only a few years ago. 2 years ago, they became very engaged with the university in understanding the implications. Things have changed. They've seen the impact. We lost in the previous year 25 tenured and tenure-track faculty members. They were taken somewhere else, many to Minnesota, but also Michigan, Texas, Notre Dame, and others. Most of our faculty do very well. I've realized what keeps me up at night is if we begin to lose the soul of our institutions, those key faculty, those key staff that make a difference. Just lost my honors director. He's transformed that program into one of the top 20 in the country, and he's taking with him his tenured English faculty wife. His pay increase, I'm sorry it's on video, 75%. This makes a real difference. At the Chamber of Commerce Eggs and Issues last December, the very first question they asked was about funding the UW system and the pay plan. Representative Bonnier immediately said, we have to support this. These pay increases are long overdue. All the way down the line, Senator Moulton and many of the other new legislators from the Chippewa Valley. People are getting it. For the first time in my career, I'm getting phone calls from area business leaders because they hear that a faculty member is leaving to take another job. And they say, we have to have Professor so-and-so. They do this for our industry. They do that for our institutions and our community. So I think, enough has happened. And I think the governor sees it. I think I see the Joint Finance Committee gets it. So I'm really pleased that people say, I think it's time to make that reinvestment. And it gets to our faculty, it gets to our infrastructure. The UW system, having only been here 4 years, is truly a gem. It's fragile, we can't take it for granted, and I'm pleased to see the public and our elected leaders are seeing that. And I appreciate the work that all the regents do publicly and behind the scenes to make sure you're carrying that message.
Regent Whitburn has a question, but before he does, I want to make a comment. We've had an opportunity to hear from both Chancellor Mone and Chancellor Blank on previous occasions about just this issue. But today we had an opportunity to hear chancellors from all parts of the state of Wisconsin, and the theme is the same. Service to the families, service to the student, the need for the institutions, the importance for the employees, but the importance of the economic development in every part of the state. And that strength lies with those institutions that span it. Regent Whitburn.
As Chancellor Schmidt is emphasizing, our system is Wisconsin's most important institution, past, present, and future. A comment on compensation. The reality is there isn't any money tree up in Madison. The good news is that revenues are positive. My view is that it's critical that our staff be treated fairly in this $75 billion biennial budget. Equity and fairness is what we deserve in our system across our wonderful workforce, doing among Wisconsin's most important work.
Other questions or comments? Yes. Regent Tyler?
Thank you. I hate to take this off compensation because it's such a critical issue, but I've heard anecdotes of where industry, business employers have stepped up and funded or offered to fund projects, and yet it gets tied up in bureaucracy and delayed, and those donators get frustrated. I was wondering if someone could share an anecdote of a situation like that.
Nobody wants to say it.
I'll try to answer that.
It doesn't look like anybody wants to step into that soup.
Everyone speaks.
I know of at least 2 or 3 of those projects that are and have been, funding has been donated, and they are delayed in the process, and we're trying to work with DOA and the folks in DOA in order to expedite that. But it does make it difficult when you're dealing with donors who come back to you and say, what's going on here? Why is this taking so long? And that is a challenge, but I know of at least 2 projects like that.
It's on. Oh, thank you. I think that one of the big issues is the flexibility and responsiveness of the institutions to business. Business runs at a certain pace, and when they bring an issue or a problem or an opportunity to us, they'd like to have it done in real time. And oftentimes, we're limited on how quickly we can respond to business because of some of the rules that we operate under. I'm just thinking in terms of HR, for instance. If we want to assign faculty to a particular project that might involve some type of compensation for that, there are very rigid rules that we understandably need to go through to do that, but oftentimes it slows down the process in which we can quickly respond to external requests for our services.
All right. At this point, I think we'll draw this to a close. We very much appreciate the comments made by the chancellors. Thank you very much. Your response to the questions. And we're going to move on to the federal issue. President Cross?
Before I step into the federal issues, I do want to express my appreciation to the chancellors. I wanted you to hear some of the issues they're dealing with on a daily basis related to compensation, retaining and attracting faculty and staff, and also their facility issues. And since those are the two issues yet to be decided for us in the budget, I thought it would be good for you to hear that. I also hope you understand that as a system, we understand the challenges legislators face in this process. As Regent Whitburn noted, the condition of revenues, we're part of this state. So when the state suffers, we suffer. When the state's doing well, we should do well. The thing that we try to communicate effectively, as professionally and carefully as we can, is that higher education is an investment in the future. It appears often in the eyes of others as though it's an expense on the business ledger, but you're really investing in the future. And it's 10, 15, 20 years from now that what we do today and what they do in the Capitol will change the state and make it even better in the future. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a tenor around that process. And compensation is important, capital is important. We're not trying to say we're the most important thing in the world. We're trying to say that if the future of Wisconsin is going to be rosy, we're the best investment the state can make. With that, I'll switch to, and you didn't have to pay for that extra editorial comment, though we will pass the plate before you leave. So, now let me turn a little bit to the federal relations update there and where that budget is. In March, Associate Vice President for Federal Relations, Chris Andrews, and Chris is here today, I thought I saw her earlier, presented to the board an overview of our federal priorities, what's important to us, and I'd like to offer a brief update. On May 23rd, the Trump administration released its 2018 budget request. The budget proposal seeks roughly $3.6 trillion in federal spending cuts over the next 10 years. For fiscal 18, defense spending would increase $668 billion, or $22 billion above current levels. Non-defense discretionary spending, which is where a majority of student aid, scientific research, and institutional support is funded, that would fall to $479 billion, a $57 billion decrease from current levels. The general consensus is there is not broad support in the House or in the Senate for this budget as it currently stands. It's likely to undergo significant changes, we all know that. Because of that, I'm not going to spend a lot of time diving into the details of that budget. However, there are several areas of proposed reductions that particularly concern us, and I want to focus on a few of those. So let me start with some that will impact students, that focus. No increases in the maximum Pell Grant are proposed. This would be the first time since 2012 that students would not receive an increase. Second, the federal Perkins Loan Program is due to expire in September. All the UW system chancellors have signed a letter asking members of Congress to approve legislation to extend that program. Third, significant cuts to the federal TRIO programs have been proposed. TRIO programs support things like advising, mentoring, and tutoring, which we all know help with student retention and success, and happens to be part of the 2020 forward priorities that we put forward in our strategic framework. Just last month, 8 UW system institutions, all who applied, were notified they would receive funding for Upward Bound, a TRIO program geared to low-income families and first-generation college students. Finally, significant changes to student loan programs are on the table. There are a number of these that concern us, but most important perhaps is the proposed elimination of subsidized loans for needy undergraduates. That is, they would now be charged interest starting from the time they take out the loan rather than after they graduate. So those are 4 issues that I wanted you to be aware of that are on our radar screen. So now let's turn just quickly to issues that would impact the campuses or our institutions. The budget also proposes cuts to the federal departments and agencies that support research and development on our campuses. And this is both significant and concerning. We all know research and development is critical to our economy, and while this work is primarily done at Madison and Milwaukee, all of our UW institutions play an important role. Companies often turn to higher education for advice, consulting, and research. Ongoing investment is necessary for this progress to continue. Those of you on the READY Committee yesterday heard Wisconsin Tech Council President Tom Still address this. The proposed federal budget now heads to the U.S. and Senate for considerations. As mentioned, we expect that Congress will make significant changes. We will work with our delegation to make sure that they have information they need to prioritize federal spending that is in the best interest of the UW system, our nation, and the people within the state. In the meantime, I would encourage you to ask Chris Andrews if you have any further questions. So, Chancellor Blank is not with us today, but I'm going to ask Chancellor Mone and Provost Sarah Mangelsdorf from UW-Madison just to share a few minutes of their perspective on the impact these will have, this might have on their research-related issues.
Thank you, President Cross. Good morning, everybody. I will stay away from the impact on students. President Cross has covered that well, but just with regard to the research, one of the points that I'd like to make, echoing a little bit of yesterday's comments, is that we're on a very close margin in terms of just having become a Research One university, and we don't have the type of slack that these types of cuts could allow and still reinforce the possibilities for us to maintain our Research One status. But more broadly, what you've been hearing about in your time here in Milwaukee and what you know really is valued from all of the UW institutions is the partnerships with industry. So for example, we have an Industry University Collaborative Research Consortium, and that's funded both by industry, but it's the seed funding from NSF and NIH that really enables that. We have over $35 million in federal funds that have come from the state to support the work with Johnson Controls around energy storage. That's started with industry support, but then it's reinforced. And so it's these partnerships that are at risk. So let me share with you a few specific areas that not only impact UW-Milwaukee, but would really be important if these are seen through for all UW institutions, and importantly, the citizens of Wisconsin, as well as our corporate partners. Just to put this in context, excluding Pell Grants, we receive about $30 million in federal research awards. That's a number from last year. NIH and NSF are both proposed to have significant double-digit cuts. And how that manifests itself, some specific examples at both Madison and Milwaukee, but affecting this entire state, is the proposed elimination completely of the Sea Grant program. That has long been housed at Madison, but it has benefits, of course, because of all our water research. So that's looking at E. coli in public beaches, commercialization and use of aquaponics. Now, as we think about talking about a strong industry potential in terms of aquaculture, Stevens Point has tremendous programs, we do as well. This proposed elimination would adversely affect that, as you can appreciate. There's a 31.4% funding decrease proposed for EPA. Well, I think you can appreciate a lot of the wildlife conservation and a lot of the work in terms of all the waterways and outdoor areas, the natural environment. One of the things of most particular concern, if you were at our event last night and you were helping us launch the ground staking for the entrepreneurial program, the NSF today helps fund an I-Corps program. That I-Corps program in the last year alone has had 5 teams with 200 participants from this community and many of the leading businesses. We have received an additional $7 million in private sector funding because of what has been started here. And so as I think about the partnerships and the strength and why today so many of our corporate partners have said UW-Milwaukee really represents an extension of our R&D function. It's those collaborative partnerships that our students have interns, our students become employees of, and as we look at any strong economy, It is those partnerships, usually with research universities, but especially with the talent side, that make the state strong. So I hope you really do appreciate the impact of the federal budget on our higher ed institutions and how that will simply not help us in our efforts to make Wisconsin as strong as it possibly can be. Thank you.
Chancellor Blank is sorry she can't be here today, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. As I imagine all the regents know, but I'm not sure that everyone else in the room knows, the largest source of funding for the University of Wisconsin-Madison comes from the federal government. 30% of our operating budget comes from the federal government. The next largest source is tuition at 19%, and the third largest source is directly from the state, and that's 15%. So, and most of that 30%, or $890 million, comes in the form of federal grants competitively awarded to our faculty for work on specific research projects. Those funds pay part of the faculty's salaries, they pay for the staff, they pay to fund our graduate students and undergraduates who work on these research projects. It would be completely devastating to our university, indeed, make payroll if these proposed funding cuts to the federal granting agencies came to pass. So I think it would be really devastating for our country as well when you think of all the kinds of important research that Mark alluded to, as well as all the research that goes on in our medical center, whether at the Carbone Cancer Center, the McPherson Eye Center, and so forth. So this is a very important thing for our country and our state.
Thank you, Provost Mangelsdorf, and I appreciate the work the chancellors have done, both at the federal level, but especially at the state level, to try to engage businesses and help communities and others understand the value and importance of our budget to the state and what it means to invest in the university. Regent President Milner, that's my report, so thank you. Oh, I have one more, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I wondered.
Now we have our student spotlight, which I almost forgot. I apologize. The intent of these regular presentations is to help us all better understand what it means to be a student on a UW campus, how they got here and why, and what they're working on and hope to do in the future. What issues are most important to them. Each student has their own unique story to tell, and while at the same time they often have many shared experiences. The student spotlight is a chance to see the UW from their perspective and to remind us all why we sit in these positions and why it's so important what we do. With that, I am pleased to introduce you to Ann Barlas, a brand new graduate of the College of Engineering and Applied Science here at UW-Milwaukee. Congratulations, Ann. And while Chancellor Mone is escorting her up here, I believe we have a short video talking about Ann.
I was born in Chicago and then grew up in Door County and came to Milwaukee, and I've always been very drawn to the water, and doing research about the lake has been really meaningful. This degree has been 5 years of the hardest work I didn't even know I was capable of. The Water Technology Accelerator is a joint program between the UWM College of Engineering and the School of Freshwater Sciences. Marcia Silva is the lab manager at the Water Technology Accelerator, and there have been so many times when Marcia has been there for me, both in the successes, but also at times when I didn't have success. And I think that's really important that she was able to tell me that I represented our lab even when things didn't work out. Last summer, I interned with Rexnord, and I found that it was such a good fit. I accepted the position with Rexnord in October. It feels so good to finally be at that point where I can take 5 years of education and put it towards something bigger. Well, thank you, Chancellor Mone and the Board of Regents. It's an honor to be here and to speak to you. My junior year, I transferred to UWM from UWGB to complete a bachelor's degree in engineering. I started working at the UWM Industrial Assessment Center, where I completed energy audits alongside engineering professors. This led to an internship with We Energies, our local energy utility. My interest in energy continued, and later I led a project to fund clean energy for a food cooperative in Milwaukee, alongside other UWM students. Together, we raised $16,700 for the co-op to convert to solar energy. This school year, our team did it again, fully funding a solar power system and green roof for the River Revitalization Foundation in Milwaukee. I chose to study engineering because the Great Lakes region fascinates me, both ecologically and economically. I've learned about the impacts people have on the Great Lakes, which comprise 21% of the world's surface freshwater. The vitality of the Great Lakes ecosystem and quality of our drinking water are threatened due to human behavior via stormwater runoff. This occurs after rains that bring pollutants from statewide river systems that converge near the lake. For the past 2 years, I've worked on a research project under Dr. Marcia Silva at the UWM Water Technology Accelerator. And our project is focused on combating excess phosphorus in water using chemically engineered porous material. Through the project, I've been involved with the strategic implementation of the material across the state's river systems, which will benefit the lake downstream. I've made many professional presentations about the project across the state, which propelled my development as a researcher and a citizen of the Great Lakes region. My research is part of a driving force of Milwaukee's world recognition as a freshwater hub. The support through the Office of Undergraduate Research here at UWM allowed me to join many of the undergraduates here at UWM who are involved in research projects. The skills developed during projects like these are incredibly valuable to students entering the Wisconsin workforce. Project management, the ability to work on a team, and tenacity are several skills I will carry with me to Rexnord while I'll work as an engineer. I am grateful to have been involved in these opportunities, and I encourage you to increase the kinds of access to defining experiences like these.
And we'll follow your career for a long time, I'm sure.
In Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, that's right. That's right. With that, I've completed my report. Thank you, Regent President Milner.
The student spotlight is always a highlight of our meetings, because this is, after all, why we are here. Now, we're going to be moving on to the reports from the actions taken by our various standing committees. I will begin with asking Regent Delgado, would you please present the report of the Capital Planning and Budget Committee?
Very good. Yesterday, we approved 10 resolutions, and what I would like to do is I will...
What? Sorry.
I'm making you laugh.
Please go on.
Okay, I can be funny if you wanted to. And I can go through them. I'm going to do it in abbreviated terms so that we can move along, and I would like to move each one of them separately. First comes Resolution 13B from the UW colleges, and there we're just releasing permanently some acreage of UW Fund to Lac in order to back to the county. Remember, the county originally owns it, and we're just leasing it. So I would like to move approval of this resolution.
Do we have a second? Second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Resolution 13C brought, please bear with me, I'm not enjoying it either, you know. Brought by UW Eau Claire, requests authority to construct a $35 million new residence hall projected to provide housing for 432 students. I move the approval of this resolution.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Resolution 13D, brought by UW-La Crosse, requests authority to construct a comprehensive $24.6 million renovation project in historic Whittage Hall. I move approval of this resolution.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Resolution 13E, brought by UW-Madison, requests approval to pay a City of Madison municipal assessment of $631,325.00 for street and utility improvements on County Highway M and County Road PD. I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 13F, brought by UW-Madison, requests authority to execute a temporary land use agreement with the Wisconsin Turf Grass Association for construction of a one-story storage building at the O.J. Noor Turf Grass Research and Education Facility. I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion about this resolution? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
This is grass you step on. Resolution 13G.
This is a long list.
Yeah. Brought by UW-Milwaukee, requests authority to increase the budget and construct the $8.2 million Luber Center for Entrepreneurial and Welcome Center project, and I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Resolution 13H, brought by UW-Stout, was revised to correct, that doesn't matter. It requests authority to increase the budget and construct the $21.7 million North Hall renovation and addition project. And I move approval of this resolution.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Resolution 13I, brought by UW-Stout, requests authority to increase the budget and construct the $7.6 million Price Commons first floor renovation project. I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Resolution 13J, brought by the UW system, requests approval to increase the budget, execute the remainder of the design contract, and construct a $21 million UW-Madison, Wisconsin Institute for Medical Research West Wedge addition project. I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
And the last one is Resolution 13K, brought by UW system, requests authority to construct 3 maintenance and repair projects at 3 institutions for approximately $1.4 million, and I move approval of this resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We are done with the resolutions, but I had just 2 comments. We look at the semi-annual status report on leasing, and it's available to you. You look at the data. It's actually very, very interesting if you have never had a chance to look at it. We looked at the semi-annual status report for the UW managed capital projects, and it is growing quite a bit. Look at it. And we had UW College's report on city and county financial support, which is impressive because it's quite a bit of support. Interesting to look at it. And then we had a presentation from UWM on the capital outlook for the next 2 years, and a report from the Alex Rowe, the Associate Vice President, which was as well received as usual. And I am done, Mrs. President.
Thank you. For the benefit of our audience, I had an opportunity to sit as an ex officio because we had some absent members, and I want to assure you there were lengthy discussions about all these particular issues. And in addition, the Regent Board as a whole received the material, and any preliminary questions came into that committee. So there was this represents a lot of work that has been done before. Now, Now, I would like to call on Regent Grebe to present the report of actions taken by the Audit Committee.
Thank you. The Audit Committee had an effective meeting yesterday. Our Chief Audit Executive, Lori Stortz, briefly reviewed our progress to date on the fiscal 2017 audit plan. She confirmed that we are on target to complete all the audits that are a part of that plan by the end of the fiscal year, with additional reports coming before the committee in July and October. Ms. Stortz reviewed a draft of the fiscal 2018 audit plan. She discussed the approach the office took in receiving feedback for the plan. In the past, the plan was created through surveys sent to stakeholders. This year, the office took a different approach, interviewing different management groups, requesting feedback, and asking them for their suggestions for audit topics. This appears to have resulted in a better process. Ms. Stortz briefly discussed each audit and its objectives. The committee unanimously approved Resolution 1.5.c, adopting the fiscal year 2018 audit plan, and I would now move that the Board of Regents approve the fiscal year 2018 audit plan.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussions about this action? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you.
Next, the committee heard reports from our Audit Committee staff regarding audits completed since the last Audit Committee meeting. Mr. Mantell reviewed the purchasing card continuing audit for the UW System Administration. The report contained 6 comments around purchasing transactions. He also discussed the purchasing card best practices letter. The committee expressed its continuing interest in addressing potential opportunities for fraud and abuse related to the use of purchasing cards. Mr. Radisky reviewed the emergency preparedness report for UW-Oshkosh that included a rating of satisfactory. He also discussed the facilities audits for UW System with a rating of unsatisfactory and UW-Madison with a rating of satisfactory. Ms. Namer reviewed the UW-Platteville residence life audit that included a rating of satisfactory. She also reviewed the Code of Ethics audit for the UW System Administration that included a rating of satisfactory. Responding to a question from Regent Whitburn, Ms. Stortz noted the cooperation from the campuses in responding to audit inquiries and audit recommendations has been excellent. Finally, Ms. Stortz provided her report on the Office of Internal Audit. She noted 2 items. First, the audit will send surveys to audit clients once projects are completed next year in order to solicit feedback on the audit process and ensure continuous improvements can be made going forward. Ms. Stortz then discussed the Waste, Fraud, and Abuse Hotline and the planned marketing of the hotline for the fall semester, which, it was noted, was not intended to address any deficiencies in the hotline, but rather to ensure that it continues to be well utilized. A motion was made and seconded to move into closed session. The meeting was adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to move on to a report from the Vice Chair of the Research, Economic Development, and Innovation Committee, Regent Klein.
Thank you, Regent President Milner. Again, filling in for Regent Hall. We started our presentation yesterday with words and information from Chancellor Mark Monet, highlighting significant campus initiatives related to entrepreneurship and innovation, and really looking at how innovation and entrepreneurship can be integrated into curriculum and programming across the campus. The Chancellor then introduced Brian Thompson, President of the UWM Research Foundation and Director of the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center. Dr. Thompson provided updates on UWM's significant increase in patents and licenses and noted an acceleration of pathways from research to product commercialization. Thompson also made special note of the launch of the new Lubar Entrepreneurship Center, which many of us attended the steak pounding session last night. It was a very nice reception. And Mr. Thompson also made special note of the launch of the new Lubar Entrepreneurship Center relationship with the National Science Foundation I-Corps program to foster entrepreneurship. Thompson's co-presenters included Dr. Advi, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. Nasuri, Associate Dean of Research, Electrical Engineering and Entrepreneurs and Co-Inventors, Dr. Hirschmug, Professor of Physics, and Dr. Gadarshka Vos-Ivkasko, who is the UWM Graduate School Dean. Secretary Mark Hogan from WEDC also presented and provided an overview of WEDC's business sector and community development initiatives, highlighted key programming. He also made special note of the fact that WECD programming is going to be extended to minority chamber partners in Wisconsin. Last but not least, Wisconsin Technology Council President Tom Still provided an update on council activities in the areas of entrepreneurship, technology transfer, venture capital, and university industry research initiatives. The Tech Council is the science and technology advisor to the governor and the legislature. Significantly, Tom highlighted the strength of entrepreneurship in the state of Wisconsin, and despite the fact that there is a low ranking in the Kauffman Foundation reports. I think many of us on the committee hope that through collaboration and efforts of various campuses, additional focus can be put on successful entrepreneurship throughout the state in accordance with the Wisconsin idea.
Thank you, Regent Klein. I now call on Regent Mueller to present the reports of actions taken by the Business and Finance Committee and also the joint session with Audit.
Yes,
Regent
Madam
Mueller.
President. I will begin with the Business and Finance Committee work. We first heard from Robin Van Harpen, who's the Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administrative Affairs at UW-Milwaukee, who presented information on how the campus is dealing with the difficult fiscal environment, including the budget reductions and lower enrollment. Her review included several examples of operational efficiencies, including a realignment of the workforce, integrating some student support services, and technological improvements in transportation to improve the efficiency there. She also provided some information on the challenges associated with this very building, the student union, where some renovation is needed, and she brought us up to speed on the cost and concerns about that. We heard and received information on our quarterly gifts, grants, and contracts report from Julie Gordon, who's our Senior Associate Vice President for Finance. This, as you know, is a leading indicator of funding, and based on what you've already heard, it's echoed here, federal awards decreased during the period reported. Non-federal awards did increase, however. There's cautionary optimism that the fourth quarter will show an uptick in receipts. Similarly, we heard a financial management report of our operating budget, also from Julie Gordon. It's a dashboard that we use to monitor our financial activity. Generally speaking, actual expenditures are running below budget. Revenues are a little bit above budget. We'll know more next quarter. We heard from our colleague, Regent Brian Stile, who's the chairperson of the Subcommittee on Investments. He provided a report on their most recent meeting, which included an overview of a relevant federal law that governs the investments of institutional funds. He reviewed for us the quarterly investment report for the second quarter and discussed the addition of additional committee members to enrich the understanding of the issues involved with this. And there, as I understand it now, another member of the committee is an ex officio who's a professor of business from the University of Wisconsin Madison Business School. System Vice President Rob Kramer provided a brief update on information technology efforts within the system. 3 topics in particular of great concern to us: income information security assessments, new requirements of a federal act, and continuation of cybersecurity insurance that we own and maintain. And now I'd like to move to the resolutions. We considered and approved application of a federal Veterans Healthcare and Benefits Improvement Act to our existing tuition credit program. And then many contracts, a contract with UW-Milwaukee and Johnson Control Group, where they're working on battery improvements. Contractual agreement between UW-Madison and Dow Chemical Company dealing with certain polymers. Contractual agreement with CLS Bearing LLC dealing with certain protein-based therapies. Contractual agreement between UW-Madison and Karyopharm Therapeutics related to cancer drugs. Another, UW-Madison with AstraZeneca Pharma Global Development with certain therapeutic medicines across an array of disease. Another, UW-Madison contractual agreement with GlaxoSmithKline on asthma research, particularly those afflicted with asthma in the inner city. UW-Madison contractual agreement with Fast Track Drugs and Biologics on a malarial vaccine. If I may add an editorial note and my voice to the chorus of concerns about reduced funding for research, I just want to point out before I ask your approval, during my tenure as Chair of Business and Finance, we actually increased the threshold of the contracts receiving our review from 500,000 to $1 million. And still we have this long laundry list of research from our 2 research institutions in such an array of important areas. So I wish you had the opportunity to read the contracts as I'm able to do, because the research is so important, and I hope it will not be diminished in any way in the future. Comment, I now, on behalf of the Business and Finance Committee, move adoption of resolutions 1, 2, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J.
And we all know our alphabet. Do we hear a second? Second. All right, any discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you.
And one more item of business.
One more item?
Thank you. I do want to report on an action that was taken in closed session when the Audit Committee and the Business and Finance Committee met. We met on information security of a sensitive nature and some audit findings related to that. But a resolution was considered and approved, and I now move it for your adoption. It is as follows. UW System Administration shall provide bi-monthly reports to the Chair of the Board of Regents Audit Committee and Business and Finance Committee regarding progress on information security audit findings. The first report shall occur before the July 2017 Board of Regents meeting.
There's a second. All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you. I now call on Regent Whitburn to present the reports of actions taken by the Education Committee.
The Education Committee approved a new doctoral program for UW-Madison, a doctor in biomedical data sciences. A lot of focus these days on biomedical data. And with this program in place, we'll join Stanford nationally in leading in this space. As you know, once a year the board approves the proposed distribution of Vilas Trust dollars. These are appreciation dollars coming out of the large trust. These dollars go to Madison and to the Milwaukee campuses. Before us today is approval of a $6.9 million transfer to support scholarships, fellowships, professorships in the arts and humanities, social sciences, biological sciences, physical sciences, and also in music. I'd mentioned the trust is also setting aside at this time an additional $1.1 million for a special building fund at the School of Music in Madison. This is part of a 5-year pledge from the trust. The dollars will flow to us at the end of the 5th year. As you'll recall, once each year the board approves tenure and tenure track appointments, designations, and promotions across the system. This year we have 53 newly appointed faculty members with that status, 212 promotions, and a total of 259 first-time tenure attainments, a total of 524 advancements. Vice President Henderson briefed the committee on plans to begin a new process of reviewing policies related to evaluating low-performing programs, low-performing academic programs across our various campuses. Interestingly, currently are only those programs that are offered at 50% or more of our campuses are required to be reviewed, and then only every 5 years. So we're going to begin a more robust review of low-performance programs. He also updated the committee on work being done around bringing greater consistency to math remediation initiatives across the various campuses. Regent Tyler introduced Chancellor Van Galen from River Falls, who reported on a very interesting outreach and recruiting trip this spring to Northeast China. Out of the trip has come several MOUs with several entities in China that will tighten the relationship going forward with the River Falls campus. In addition, we received an interesting briefing on UW-Madison's outreach initiative in a partnership with Nestle's Dairy Farming Institute in China. The dairy industry needs in China are massive, of course, and we're helping them with modern science-based farming practices. I guess something that you would expect from the dairy state. Finally, Chancellor Moning and Provost Britz invited Milwaukee Technical College President Vicki Martin and MPS Superintendent Driver to brief the committee on a broad and energetic array of efforts underway to work to close the achievement gap in retention and graduation rates between underrepresented and majority students. So, consistent with the committee's actions, I would now move approval of resolutions 11B, 11C, and resolution 11D.
All right, is there any discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That concludes the business portion of our meeting. Yes.
I note that during the Education Committee, there was a report by the Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs on math remediation. Unfortunately, there wasn't any material included in our packets about that, and I would like to have access to whatever written materials went along with that report, please.
All right, very good. We'll see that that's done. Thank you, Regent Higgins. Left on our agenda is some very important recognitions. And we have an election and we have a memorial. But we've had a long morning. We are taking a very strict 10-minute break right now, and then we will be back in precisely 10 minutes. Strict. At this time, we would like to officially recognize the service, commitment, and contributions of one of our colleagues whose term on the board has ended. Regent James Langness III, who's joined here by his mom and dad, and any other members of the family? Well, we're very happy to see you here today, and James has been a wonderful contributor to the board over the years. That's my editorial comments. There's others that are going to be shared with you. And to offer our resolution appreciation, I'd like to invite Regent Stile to the podium.
It's an honor to read the resolution in recognition of Regent Emeritus's James Langness work for the Board of Regents. There's not too many people that graduate from college and obtain the title of Emeritus, but I think there's no one probably more fitting than James. His work ethic as a regent, he was a student regent, but he really represented all the citizens of our state. I think he did that just incredibly admirably. And as I look kind of as my colleagues on the Board of Regents and as I've joined, I've learned a little bit from each and every single person on the Board of Regents that's really enhanced my life. And I think to James, and I think there's two things that really jump out to me that I've learned from Regent Langness. And the first one is to show up. James Langness, to everything I found out, he shows up to it. And so if you call him, or for James, if you use any of the 45 other social media accounts he uses, text message, WhatsApp, Snapchat, you'll ask, James, where are you? And James will say, I'm in Van Heist meeting with President Ray Cross. Or he'll say, I'm at a Board of Regents subcommittee meeting. Or he'll be doing charitable work for the Jimmy V Foundation with being the philanthropy chair of his fraternity at UW-Whitewater. And at times, yes, you'll even find out that James was actually at the library studying. which is good to see. So the first thing I learned from James is to always show up and help out. And I think nobody holds that more true than yourself, James. The second thing that I've always learned from James is to work hard, but to do it with a smile. I don't think there's anybody that would question the work ethic of Regent Langness, but in particular, he does it with a smile. There's always kind of that twinkle in his eye, and you don't know exactly why, but he's always got a great demeanor to him while he's doing it. And if you talk to James and you really ask him kind of about his path in life, there was a pretty significant illness that he went through in high school. And I think as you reach those points in your life, you come out one of two ways: somewhat bitter that this occurred to you, or really, really a joy about living. And I think James has always had that piece of it. It's a joy about living as he dives into the areas that he works in. And so he's always diving in and always has that work ethic, but he does it with a smile. And so I was talking to him yesterday, and I was asking him what he was doing now. And so he's working in the governor's office, and one of his first tasks yesterday was to run a 5K with the kickoff to the Wisconsin Special Olympics and to snag certain photos. So I said, James, when was the last time you ran a 5K? And the response came back, actually it was via text, and the response came back and it's those ... So I'm waiting, was it how long ago? He said, I've never run a 5K. But even if you haven't run it, I knew you probably did it. You threw yourself in, and probably at the end you still had a great smile that you accomplished across the finish line. So it's a great honor to be able to read our recognition for you today. Congratulations on your graduation, and to your parents for raising such a great person, James. So it's with that I read our resolution of appreciation. Whereas James A. Langness III served as a dedicated student representative on the University of Wisconsin Board of Regents from May 2015 to May 2017, and whereas James offered a valuable perspective as a member of the Committee on Student Discipline and Other Student Appeals, and whereas James thoughtfully served as a member of both the Education Committee and the Capital Planning and Budget Committee, through which he demonstrated a commitment to improving the educational experience for students, and whereas James worked to publicly honor and reward the commitment of outstanding UW educators by serving on the Teaching Excellence Awards Committee, and whereas James served in the student government as a senator on the UW-Whitewater student government body, and also served as an alder on the City of Whitewater Common Council, examples of his dual interest in education and politics. And whereas James recently graduated from UW-Whitewater with a major in finance and looks forward to continuing his passion for public service, be it therefore resolved that the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin system commend James A. Langness for his excellent service on behalf of the UW system and the citizens of Wisconsin, and wishes him every success in the future.
Good morning. Thank you, Regent Style, for that introduction. Brian and I have actually had the pleasure of knowing each other before either I or the board, and I've been friends ever since. And during my tenure on the board, I have come to meet many great people from all over the state, from my colleagues here on the board to system staff, to chancellors, provosts, faculty, staff, students, and other stakeholders. I found it very enjoyable to interact with these different groups of people who are accomplishing tremendous things that are positively impacting our state, nation, and the world. The last 2 years have been the best years of my life, be it from the bluffs of La Crosse on the Mississippi, north to Superior, east to Green Bay and Milwaukee on Lake Michigan, and all of the cities, lakes, rivers, farmers' fields, and cranberry bogs in between. Serving as a regent has deepened my affection for the great state of Wisconsin. First, I want to thank Governor Scott Walker. It was an honor to serve on the board, and I deeply appreciate all of the opportunities and fond memories that have come from my appointment. I'm thankful to the governor for giving me the opportunity to serve the state of Wisconsin in this capacity. As you know, like myself, Governor Walker is a Walworth County native, and I would also like to thank 2 other Walworth County natives. These 2 people have been with me from the beginning, literally, my parents, Jim and Tina. Without their love, compassion, guidance, and encouragement, I would not be where I am at today. Hopefully I have made them proud as I am proud of them. See, I like to say that I have won 2 lotteries in life. 1, being born an American, and 2, being born the son of the best parents in the world. I have been asked, James, why did you want to be a regent? My simple answer to that is because I wanted to serve. The follow-up question usually is, why did you want to serve? Well, that is a little more in-depth question and requires a deeper answer. Firstly, I think it is because how I was raised. Public service is a huge part of my family and its history. Since before America was a country, my family has fought and served in every major American conflict. And remember those parents I was talking about? They both are lifelong public servants. Both served in the United States Army. My mother went on to become a nurse where she helps people every day. And my dad has served as a special agent for the federal government for 27 years. Growing up, I wanted to be like my role models. I wanted to join the Army and serve others, but service in the Army eventually became an impossibility for me due to medical challenges that were mentioned earlier by Regent Style. And this leads me to my next reason for wanting to serve, and it is something that has really shaped my life. When most kids turn 16, it is a happy day. They often get their driver's license, enjoy more freedom, and sometimes have lavish 16th birthday parties. Mine was a little different. I spent my 16th birthday at a children's nephrologist. After being sick for a while, bouncing from doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what was wrong, we eventually found ourselves here. I remember the doctor telling us that there were about 7 things that they have narrowed it down to be, and 6 of them were going to kill me pretty quick or be lifelong debilitations. If I was lucky, it could be a very rare kidney condition that had the potential of being fixed, but not to get my hopes up. Happy birthday, am I right? I remember my father hugging me when we got home, and I could feel his tears on my face. He was scared, my mom was scared, and I was scared. I remember getting the call a couple of weeks later that in fact, it was unlucky number 7. The surgery could not take place until January, as we had to track down a surgeon that knew how to do it and who was willing to do it. This medical challenge took me out of school from October to March. And during one of those nights, I woke up in tremendous and terrible pain. I remember praying to God and asking him to please give me strength. And at that moment, a thought popped into my head that I could not die yet because there is so much good that I wanted to do. That gave me the strength to push through the pain then and throughout the experience. Then and there, I made a commitment to my Maker and myself that if I lived, I would do whatever I could to serve and make the world a better place until the day I crossed over the Great Divide. During that time in my life, I didn't think that I would make it to the next grade, much less graduate high school early, then go on to serve on the city council and graduate college in 3 years. And that 2 of those years I would serve on its governing board and be standing before you here today. So that is my second reason as to why I wanted to serve. And a quote that I really like was said by Winston Churchill, and he said, "You make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give." Now, chancellors, that one might be a good one to use on the donors. A little known fact about myself is that I really enjoy poetry. Once I came across a poem by Shawnee Chief Tecumseh. It said, "Love your life, perfect your life, and beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long in its purpose and service of your people." Now, none of us know how long we will be on this earth, but I do intend to make my time in service of the people. And like Regent Style mentioned, for the past 2 weeks, I've been working in the governor's office. And jokingly, I say that I really hit the ground running. Like you mentioned, I ran in a 5K with the governor, other law enforcement officials, and Special Olympic athletes through the city of Waukesha for their law enforcement torch run for the Special Olympics. And it's something that I will truly never forget, especially, be it so early in my career. A passion for service in Wisconsin is something that is a bond shared among Regents. Someone who also shares that bond is my successor, Mr. Ryan Ring. I had the pleasure of meeting Ryan a couple years ago through my travels on the board. And for the record, the governor has made an excellent decision in selecting Ryan to serve the state of Wisconsin. He is smart, dedicated, and I know that he will do a tremendous job. I look forward to seeing you do great things and also leverage this opportunity. The people that you sit amongst are some of the brightest minds in Wisconsin. The people in this room have a lot of knowledge that you can gain, and I encourage you to try to gain it. With that, good luck to you, Ryan. If you ever need advice, I'm always here. Let me know. Good luck to Ryan. Good luck to the 2 other new regents and my former colleagues as you continue to move the UW system forward. As Regent Whitburn has said to me many times, be bold and forward-leaning. Now, some of you here have had the opportunity to work or interact with former Governor Tommy Thompson. He is pretty notorious for ending his speeches with a phrase known as the Irish blessing. Following his lead, I would like to recite the last line. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. So thank you, God bless you, and God bless the great state of Wisconsin. I can't get this on.
That is just amazing. I have, in my 5 years of sitting on this board, I've had an opportunity to know all of them quite well. And without exception, they have been quality regents and quality individuals who've gone on to do very interesting things. So thank you, James, very much. And now, at this time, we have an opportunity to remind ourselves of the outstanding work that's done by academic staff across the UW system. There are more than 14,000 academic staff within our system. The university's largest sector of employees. This morning, we are honored to have with us some special guests, the recipients of the 2017 Regents Academic Staff Awards for Excellence. To lead us in our awards presentation, let me turn things over to Regent Jeanne Mueller, who's chair of the Awards Selection Committee. Regent Mueller.
Thank you. We are indeed blessed today. And it is with great pleasure that we welcome here today the winners of this year's Board of Regents Academic Staff Excellence Awards. With these awards, we salute the hard work, dedication, and innovation of our talented academic staff members. We are honored to help recognize the individuals and programs that make our UW institutions exceptional. Their outstanding work, along with the work of academic system staff statewide, helps to strengthen and invigorate not only our UW institutions, but the communities in which they serve. Chairing this selection committee is always the most gratifying and challenging assignment that I've given. I greatly appreciate the time and efforts of my fellow members of the committee and wish to thank Regents Drew Peterson, Tracy Klein, and Brian Stile for their dedication, their input, and their insights. Thank you to all of the academic staff in the system. Regent Drew Peterson will present our first award.
Well, thank you, Jeanne, and good morning, everyone. Let me start for several of our newly seated regents to say this is one of the most, I think, profoundly impactful jobs that we at Board of Regents have. The amount of submissions of academic excellence awards continues to be extremely high year over year, and it's just a true focus and dedication that our professors have on trying to achieve student success for all of our 180,000 students. So it's certainly my pleasure to introduce this year's first award winner, Dr. Jeanne Creighton, Director of the Manford Olsen Planetarium at UW-Milwaukee. Dr. Creighton loves sharing the stars with people of all ages. Her enthusiasm is contagious. In her 10 years as planetarium director, program attendance has doubled. Each year, 300 planetarium shows attract more than 10,000 community member visitors. Through university radio programs on a variety of topics, she's able to amplify that reach to an even wider audience. In the last decade, Jeanne has shared planetarium shows with 45,000 kindergarten through 12th grade students. Her outreach to teachers at all levels has improved STEM instruction across all of our area schools. She developed a summer astronomy course for UWM College for Kids and teaches astronomy to UWM students in pre-education majors. A collaborative program with the university's theater department called A Tale of Scale invites UWM students to use theatrical techniques to explain the scale of the universe to a general audience. In 2014, NASA selected Jeanne as one of 24 ambassadors on the largest moving astronomical observatory. She shared her experiences of spending 20 hours at 45,000 feet as part of a TEDx talk, Musings from the Stratosphere. Each year, she presents at the Great Lakes Planetarium Association conferences, and in 2012, she received the association's Honorary Fellow Award in recognition of her commitment to science, education, and research in innovative fields. A nominator commends our honoree for changing the UW Planetarium to, and I quote, a hub of activity that touches people across the campus, the city, and the region, unquote. And with that, I'm certainly honored to present our first Academic Staff Excellence Award to Dr. Jeanne Creighton of UW-Milwaukee.
Jeanne, we're going to take a photo with you, too.
Yes, can I say something first?
Oh, before.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Greg?
Thank you for your support and recognition. I am thrilled to receive this award. The beauty of the night sky, the elegance of the cosmos have always inspired me. I delight in sharing this excitement with every adult and child who walks through our planetarium doors. In the last 50 years, over 600,000 people have visited the UWM Planetarium. Approximately 300,000 visitors are from local schools. We have brought science to underserved communities around us. I believe it is important to engage the public with science through outreach, innovation, and research. Of course, I can't direct a planetarium that hosts over 13,000 visitors a year, without the work and commitment of my talented, invested staff. In the last 10 years, I have worked with over 70 students and interns from a broad range of disciplines, ranging from physics to journalism to theater. A handful of them are with me today. Let's recognize them, please. I have encouraged them to use their skills and talents. I have watched them soar. I see opportunities everywhere, not just in the new ideas my staff bring me. I love reaching out across the table, across campus, dozens of departments, students' orgs, and centers, and beyond, to see how we can work with others and do something interesting together. There are many, many colleagues who have helped me in small and big ways. I am grateful to all of you. Here is my message. Help others succeed. It feels good. It builds community. It makes everyone a star. Thank you.
Congratulations to Director Creighton. When you hear about these wonderful people, I'll just share the same thing that Regent Mueller said. You realize the importance of this committee, and furthermore, the great importance of highlighting programming that works across the system and collaboration, creating and piloting new things. And that's precisely the kind of thing I think all of the regents want to see and are so excited to learn about. Our second award today goes to a program whose success is exemplary. This year's program award winner is UW-Help. It's housed in the UW Extension, and it serves the entire University of Wisconsin system. UW-Help is an acronym that stands for University of Wisconsin Higher Education Location Program. The unit was actually created in 1971, and it was created to be the front door of the UW system. So at this point, it currently serves more than 300 individuals each year. Under the leadership of Director Mary Vilmo, the unit provides personalized assistance and admission information to prospective students, parents, and school counselors. This is a sample of UW-Help's impressive and far-reaching services. They have developed an electronic admission application, and to date, more than 1 million students have applied using that system. They have created popular database academic program called Major Mania, and this helps students find the best possible program fits for them. They have a text messaging effort that has engaged 20,000 high school students in the past year in conversations about financial aid and preparing for college. They've built a mobile app called UW Journey, which high school students can learn about and compare the different UW campuses, very useful. They have helped with the Wisconsin e-transcript initiative, which will launch statewide to make the transcript process more efficient and secure. Last year, UW-Help co-sponsored College Goal Wisconsin, and that was a free event to help students and families with the free application for federal student aid. UW-Help regularly gives high school education presentations. They annually work with counselors across the state, as well as in Minnesota and Illinois. UW-Help also produces an award-winning publication, Introduction to the UW System. And the program has received national awards from the Council of the Advancement and Support of Education and the University Professional and Continuing Education's Association. In the nomination materials, a UW Director of Admissions said, quote, "In many ways, UW-Help is the heart of the UW system, where families and school counselors meet our campuses and get their first impression of University of Wisconsin's system. I couldn't be more proud of the quality and caliber of the colleagues, found at the UW Help office, unquote. This is the exact type of innovative programming we as Regents love to see. It is with great pride that I present this year's Academic Staff Excellence Award to the UW Help of the UW Extension. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you for awarding the 2017 Academic Staff Excellence Award to the UW Help program. It is truly an honor for the current members of the UW Help team, but also all of those that have served with the program in the last 43 years. Some of you may know very little about UW Help. That's a common phenomenon that we're trying to change. I'd like to take a short trip down memory lane just for a minute to let you know how we came to be and what makes us unique. When I joined the UW Help team more than 15 years ago, I was told very early the story of our beginnings, the incredibly interesting story and the pride attached to it. I also knew it was important that each staff member knew the story and kept it alive. The year was 1974, and the merger of the University of Wisconsin and the Wisconsin State Universities was just about to happen. Two young men, one a grad student and the other working in system admin, over a beverage or two at the college club, conceived of the idea to create an office to serve the people of Wisconsin, to advise and inform, leading to access and opportunity in the new UW system. One of those men went on to serve as a regent. This has been a point of pride for those of us in UW Help for many years. Regent Emeritus Mark Bradley and Don Steele, we thank you for conceiving of the idea of UW Help, and we tip our hats to you today as you are biking along Lake Michigan, and as you shared in a recent email, trying to come up with another wonderful idea. 43 years ago, the greatest challenge for UW Help was to try to figure out how to get around the high cost of toll-free phone lines. The work has changed, but the commitment to serve students, families, school counselors, UW system colleagues, and UW system administration has not changed. UW Help acts as the front door to the UW system. Our work is to promote and support the entire system while honoring the unique identity and mission of each institution. We do this through administration of the UW system application, outreach on behalf of all institutions, advising via phone, email, webinars, chat, and notably text messaging, which we completed a campaign in fall of 2016 to inform students about early FAFSA completion. System-wide publications that are redesigned and updated annually, collaborations, including WACU, WTCS, and other state agencies, and finally technologies, including our new UW Journey app, which will allow students the opportunity to find their fit in the UW system on their mobile devices. One recommender said, in many ways, UW Help is the heart of the UW system. Many UW Help staff members are here today, including one former staff member. I hope they deserve to feel that way. They are a dedicated group of academic staff professionals who are innovative, creative, and deserving of this recognition. One writer described UW Help staff as willing to spend the time it takes to answer questions that students have around choosing, applying, paying, and accessing college. And she went on to say that for low-income and first-generation students, the college application and financial aid process is overwhelming. UW helps them overcome their fears and apprehensions. We want to thank you again for selecting UW Help, a program whose work is, to the best of our knowledge, unique in the nation and often the envy of neighboring states. I'll finish with the words of another recommender who said, "We need an office like UW Help, an unbiased and unabashed cheerleader and face for UW institutions in the application and college search process." Thank you.
To our academic, excuse me.
He's not done. I'm back. I echo my colleagues on saying what an honor it is to honor our academic staff, and I think we're all, we could continue on with more than three, but we'll at least get to three. So our third recipient is Ellen LaTaraka, Education Librarian at UW-Whitewater. Ellen regrets she can't be with us today. However, a colleague of Ellen has graciously agreed to accept the award on her behalf. As the education librarian at UW-Whitewater, Ellen maintains the Anderson Library curriculum collection and supports the 7 departments within the College of Education and Professional Studies. During her tenure, she's initiated and strengthened partnerships on and off campus to help train teachers and researchers while making the library's resources more broadly available. Through her efforts, the number of classroom and one-on-one instruction sessions on the use of the library resources has increased significantly. She draws on her experience in the 12-case system and adult education to support a wide variety of programs within the college. Her responsibilities include library research sessions for regional schools, collaborating with UW-Whitewater's undergraduate research programs and research apprenticeship programs, and supervising staff, interns, and student workers. Ellen has developed more than 50 online tutorial programs and services, the most popular of which has been viewed more than 850 times. She's helped develop creative events to bring more children, families, students, and teachers to campus every year, such as the Stuffed Animal Sleepover with the UW-Whitewater Children's Center. I'm honored to present our third Academic Staff Excellent Award. I'd now call on Patty Frigola to come forward and accept the award on behalf of Ellen LaTaraka of UW-Whitewater. Congratulations.
I hope I don't forget to take that with me. In her notes, Ellen wanted to convey the immense honor that she feels to be recognized by colleagues from the Anderson Library and instructors from the College of Education and Professional Studies, but most of all, by you, the Board of Regents. For her, it has been a privilege that the faculty of the College of Education and undergraduate research have been so receptive to partnering to develop creative and meaningful information literacy instructions for their students, for all students, really. Could there be a better way to spend a weekday than with other reference and instruction librarians creating more effective, engaging strategies to help students ferret out well-founded from questionable information or weak from reliable sources? Probably not, if you're Ellen. Without collaboration and support, would the library's pre-K curriculum collection and spaces reflect the needs of our teaching licensure students? Not nearly as well. Without participation from the College of Education faculty, would the selection practices alone be sufficient to catch pertinent authors and works or identify key digital resources on everything from early childhood education to higher education? Most likely not. And without library staff, our student employees, and other campus departments, would any outreach effort from welcoming middle school research classes or recording the Warhawk Book Talk series even be possible? Assuredly not. What a privilege it is to work in this environment of collaboration between colleges, departments, and colleagues. Thank you to the Board of Education and our campus administration for assuring that these policies and structures for supporting this work remain stable and vibrant to support all of our students. On behalf of UW-Whitewater, academic staff, the Anderson Library, but most of all, on behalf of Ellen Lauderaca, thank you.
We want to again thank our academic staff, Excellence Awards winners. The work you do is impressive. The work that's done by all of the academic staff throughout our campuses is impressive. And I also want to thank the committee for the hard work that you put into selecting these awards. I know how rewarding it is to read the applications, but it's important work and we appreciate that you do it. As we do this year, at this time, it's time to adopt our future calendar for board meetings. Due to abundance of campuses stepping forward to host, which is just a special part of our year, we have some selections to do. We appreciate their offering to step forward very much, and we have draft meeting schedules for both 2018 and 2019 in your packets. Resolution 211 would adopt these schedules. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 211?
So moved. Second.
Do I have a second? Second. And is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Well, we're drawing a close and we're right on time, which is very good. And today is my final meeting as President of the Board of Regents. I would appreciate it if you would indulge me as I offer a few reflections on the last few years, which have been busy few years. Because we who are engaged in higher education truly live in interesting times. Interesting changes and challenges and innovations that are happening in every state across the nation. In just the past year since I came to the board, we have seen a continuous stream of new technologies, new delivery systems, and innovative learning practices, from MOOCs and flipped classrooms to expanded undergraduate research. Changes that we know today and many more that are unknown that are yet to come. Across the country, we are also seeing changes in financial models, accountability metrics, criteria for funding, and the need to leverage and standardize administrative operations and new revenue streams, and cross-sector collaborations to support the mission of higher education. This is true everywhere. And everywhere, costs and debt for students and their families are top priorities, which directly impact our ability to both attract and retain students. These challenges are happening just when young people need knowledge, skills, and competency for their first job, as well as unknown jobs that will happen in the future. Higher education has never been more important to individuals, to economic development, and to society. Into this mix are also changes in cultural norms, the roles of tenure and shared governance, the importance of free expression, and concerns about campus climate and campus issues, such as student diversity, diversity of ideas, and the importance of safety, which must include preventing sexual assault. Safety also includes the protection of free speech and the civil debate of diverse ideas. Collaborations are vitally important also. partnerships with other educational institutions, the K-12 system, technical colleges and private colleges, as well as with legislators, businesses, and community leaders. On the national stage, significant questions about the role of universities are debated. How do public universities continue educating for individual growth and informed society while increasing a focus on workforce development and economic growth? That is a critical debate that we are facing. We've always faced it, but particularly now, it's important. It's important to recognize there are no right or definitive answers. Further, what might have been correct today may change tomorrow, and will certainly change, may have changed today, and certainly will change tomorrow. A personal and a not too important example is when I went to college on Saturday, I had to wear a skirt to go to the library to study. Now that seems trivial, but it reflects a whole enormous change that has happened for women in higher education. So the challenge facing higher education is how to balance competing priorities and finite resources while maintaining the core mission of education, research, and service. Wisconsin is not immune to these shifting national forces. In the last several years, under the leadership of President Cross, working with the Board of Regents, the UW system has become even more engaged with these national trends, developing strategies that are Wisconsin-focused but nationally relevant. In 2015, the UW system launched its first strategic planning session in more than a decade, a process that resulted in 2020 Forward, moving Wisconsin and the world forward. I was involved in 2020 Forward right from the start, and I continue to be impressed with how people from across the state are eager to help the university define and achieve its goals. To thrive in a global economy where knowledge and innovation are the cornerstones of success, we know that our state needs more college graduates in high-demand fields, and it needs more jobs in growing industries. We also know that the people at the University of Wisconsin system, all of our campuses, all of our faculty, all of our academic staff are ready, willing, and able to help on both accounts. Higher education is sometimes characterized as an ivory tower, isolated and out of touch. In the University of Wisconsin system and in the state of Wisconsin, nothing could be further from that, which is our truth. A truth in Wisconsin that spans more than 100 years. I have been closely connected with the university for most of my adult life. As a non-traditional student and holder of 2 UW-Madison degrees, as an active alum, and more recently from my vantage point on the Board of Regents, I have had the honor to see a university system that is engaged, involved, and committed. Our institutions are bringing to bear the intellect, the wisdom, and the innovation thinkers of its people. We are leveraging our resources, our relationships, and our resolve to identify the key issues facing both our state and the nation. And we are powerfully engaged in implementing solutions. Our institutions throughout the system are doing the hard work. We are educating in the broadest sense of the term, the citizens and the workforce of tomorrow. Our graduates must critically analyze information. They've got to communicate effectively and create and solve problems. Through ingenuity, resourcefulness, and tenacity, courage, one of my favorite characteristics, courage, and old-fashioned hard work, another one of my favorite characteristics, we are moving ever closer to discovery and innovation that will change people's lives. And this is the essence of the Wisconsin idea. An idea, a truth that is still relevant today as it was a century ago. I want to conclude by saying it's been my privilege to serve as your president the last 2 years. Excuse me. Typical, but not typical. I would like to offer my sincere thanks to the chancellors, provosts, and dean of the UW system, the faculty, the academic staff, students, alumni, legislators, business and community leaders, and so many advocates and believers in the UW system who continue to work for the betterment of our students, our families, and for the people of Wisconsin. I have a grateful thanks to Governor Walker for giving me the opportunity to serve. I also want to thank President Cross for a steady hand at the helm, and the UW system staff for the incredible work they do every day, and a special thanks to Jane Redu and her team at the board office. Their support of every one of us is truly remarkable. Finally, my deepest respect and gratitude to my Regent friends and colleagues, current and past, who have been unstinting in their commitment to our mission to serve. Now, as we look to the future, let's get on with our election. So thank you. Now, for the annual election of the officers of the board. The bylaws of the board specify that officers of the board are elected at the annual meeting held in June and hold their offices for 1 year until their successors are elected. If there's only one nominee for an office, the election is by voice vote. If there is more than one nominee, the election is by ballot. The term of the office begins immediately after the June meeting. First of all, we have the election of president of the board. Is there any nomination for president of the board? Regent Grebe?
Today, I have the sincere privilege to nominate my friend and fellow board member, John Bailing, for the role of president. Over the last 2 years, Regent Bailing has served admirably as the vice president of our board, taking a key leadership in a number of initiatives, most prominently as the chair of the Tenure Policy Task Force. He engaged faculty, staff, and chancellors in developing a set of policy reforms we can all be proud of. I know he will bring that kind of collaborative and reform-minded approach to the role of president.
Thank you. Is there a second? Regent Farrell?
I guess I figuratively rise to second the nomination that Regent Grebe has just made. And I think I've known John longer than this tenure of our service on this board, but I've come to know him better in the time that we have been serving together here. I think John knows Wisconsin well. He particularly knows the northeastern part of the state and brings its concerns and ours as a university system with a special interest, and now he's going to continue to grow and learn all the rest of the issues across the state. I know that he is very good image for us to have as leader in the shadow of our previous ones who were of that same type. He brings such ethics, such effort, and such, I believe, a love of the state as well as the love of the system. So I am very happy to second his nomination.
Are there any other nominations? All right, hearing none, the election will be by voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Very good. Congratulations. Is there a nomination for vice president of the board? Regent Grebe?
Again, I am privileged to nominate Drew Peterson for the position of Vice President. Regent Peterson has also been a valuable member of our board, bringing significant professional and public service experience to the table. In addition to his many years as a successful corporate communications and public affairs professional, Drew has served as the president of the Wisconsin Technical College System Board. These unique leadership experiences make him an ideal choice to serve as vice president of this board. And on a personal note, I've known both John and Drew for some time and value their friendship. As a new board member, I've appreciated their advice and support over the last 2 very interesting years on the board. And I am certain that the board, the faculty, the staff, the students of the University of Wisconsin system, and the citizens of the state of Wisconsin will be very well served with John and Drew serving as the board's president and vice president. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? Regent Farrell.
Once again, we'll figuratively rise to second the nomination of Drew Peterson to be our vice chair and our vice president. I'm not sure of the titles ever here, but I guess I've come to know Drew better since we've been together on the board. I knew who he was and what he did. I think he brings a unique blend of expertise, professional expertise, a real concern about education. Both of our leaders are parents and have either begun to experience the college experience with their children or are still looking forward to it. And that brings a bit of personal interest in it. I think they bring together as a team varied backgrounds, varied skills, a love of this state, which everybody has to have in my mind or don't even come in the door. And I'm proud of the fact that they both do love our state. And I think the fact that they're, again, geographically from different parts of the state blend the system and its representation very well. So I am delighted to be able to second Drew's nomination as vice president of the board.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, the election will be by voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Regent Peterson. Well, we do have other elections. First, although Executive Director Radu has announced her well-deserved retirement, I asked her to stay until at least midsummer. Therefore, she's up for election at this time, at one last time. We'll vote on several other office positions, and we can do this all at once. The incumbent for the proposed offices are Jane Radu, Corporate Secretary of the Board, Jessica Lathrop, Assistant Secretary, Sandra Cleveland, Assistant Secretary, Sean Nelson, Trust Officer, Tom Stafford, Assistant Trust Officer, and Doug Herr, Assistant Trust Officer. Are there any other elections to these offices? Hearing, do I need a vote? I need a motion. I'm sorry. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I would now congratulations. I'll now call on Regent Klein to read a resolution of appreciation to UW-Milwaukee as host of this June meeting, and it's been a wonderful meeting. Thank you very much, Regent Moni. Chancellor Moni.
Whereas the members of the Board of Regents are pleased to recognize the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee as the official host campus of the board's June 2017 meeting, and the board is grateful for the generous hospitality extended by Chancellor Moni and the entire Panther community. And whereas the board appreciated hearing Chancellor Moni's presentation at the intersection of innovation and impact, What's at Stake, which addressed the regional, state, and societal needs for higher education, and UWM's unique role in meeting those needs. And I would add, important leadership role in the city of Milwaukee. Whereas the Business and Finance Committee members heard from Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administrative Affairs, Robin Van Harpen, on how UWM is proactively responding to fiscal challenges and employing operational efficiencies to help address those challenges. And whereas the members of the Research Development and Innovation Committee heard highlights of UWM's heightened focus on entrepreneurship, innovation, and business collaboration in a presentation entitled Building an Urban Research Enterprise and Developing a Vibrant Entrepreneurial Ecosystem, given by Chancellor Mone. And whereas the board members are exceedingly appreciative of the gifts and support of the Lubar family to UWM and to the entire University of Wisconsin system. And we're excited to visit the site of the new Lubar Center for Entrepreneurship and Welcome Center to be located at the heart of the UW campus here in Milwaukee. And whereas the Capital Planning and Budget Committee heard about UWM's capital outlook 2017, 2019, and beyond, which provided a closer look at the university's capital building program. And whereas the Education Committee thanks Chancellor Mone for his leadership, together with Milwaukee Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Driver, METC College President Vicki Martin, and Provost Johannes Britz, for their efforts to accelerate college preparedness in the city of Milwaukee. And whereas the Education Committee thanks Vice President Henderson for his efforts to bring collaborative focus to exactly the same initiatives throughout the UW system. And whereas the board was delighted to hear from Ann Barlas, the new graduate of UWM's College of Engineering and Applied Sciences, featuring UWM's programming associated with the School of Freshwater Sciences. And lastly, whereas the Board of Regents will extremely miss Regent Lagnus, and we hope he runs for president, we will sincerely, and we want to sincerely thank Regent President Milner for her thoughtful and steady leadership. Job well done, Regent Milner. And we appreciate the willingness of Regent Bailing and Regent Peterson to serve. This is a tremendously time-consuming jobs, and we thank them very much for that leadership. And lastly, we welcome our newly seated regents. So be it therefore resolved that the Board of Regents hereby thanks UWM for this informative set of presentations, its forward-looking spirit, and many contributions to the UW system and to the state of Wisconsin. Thank you.
Now, on a less festive note, I understand, Regent Evers, you have a memorial.
Yes, I do. Thank you, President Milner. And I speak in memory of Tom Plager, who was a friend, and for those board members who did not know Tom, a fierce advocate for the liberal arts and how the liberal arts help frame our democracy. So on behalf of the UW system and the Board of Regents, I'd like to extend our condolences to the family and friends of Thomas Plager, who passed away unexpectedly in early May, 2 days after emergency brain surgery. Tom, who is just 48, spent 21 years of his career at the UW system, including his time serving as campus executive officer and dean at UW-Baraboo, Sauk County from 2006 to 2014. And we lost Tom to Lake Superior State University, where he did serve from 2014 until his death. In recognition of his service and commitment, UW-Baraboo Sauk County leaders have announced plans to rename the campus science building. After Tom, the plans will be considered by the Sauk County Board of Supervisors and the Baraboo City Council in coming months. Again, our condolences to Tom's family and his many friends. Thank you.
Thank you. And he will be missed. He was a fine educator. Thank you, and thank